Alright, so we're at the 2.4 video. Here we're going to solve some simple quadratics, and we're going to do that by taking the square roots. So, what you really need to know, recall, if I had 7 squared, it's 7 times 7, which is 49, right? And that means that the square root of 49 is 7. I also know that negative 7 squared is negative 7 times negative 7, which is 49. So that would imply that the square root of 49 is negative 7 as well. So just know that as we solve, so when solving quadratics, we get the positive and negative answers. Okay? Alright, so here are steps. We're going to isolate, or whatever's in the parentheses first. Alright, so we're either going to get x squared by itself, or if there's any parentheses, we're going to get those parentheses by itself first. Alright, then the second thing we want to do is we want to take the square root of both sides. So we're going to take the square root, that's going to be this guy, of both sides. And this is going to be pretty rare. Solve any remaining equation. So most likely won't have any remaining equations. I know the homework doesn't have any. I don't know that I would do that on a quiz or anything like that. So let's take a look at some basic examples here. If we had x squared equals 121. Alright, so isolate x squared or parentheses squared first. Well, here I have x squared. It's by himself, so I'm going to jump on to step 2. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So the square root of both sides. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of 121 is 11. But remember, I need the positive and the negative version. Right? If I plug 11 in here, back in the original, the original is x squared equals 121. Well, 11 squared is 121. Negative 11 squared as well is 121. All right, let's try another one here. I have x squared minus 81 equals 0. Well, the first thing I want to do is add the 81 to both sides. So I get x squared equals 81. Now I can take the square roots, and x will give me plus or minus 9. Okay. So far, so good. What happens if I have something like 4x squared minus 1 equals 0? Alright, so 4x squared minus 1 equals 0. Again, I want to get just that. I need to get that x squared by himself first. So I add the 1. 4x squared equals 1. Divide by 4. So I have x squared equals 1/4. Now if I square root, I get x equals, alright, so the square root of 1/4 is the square root of 1 over the square root of 4. The square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 4 is 2, so I get 1/2. And now remember, it's the plus and minus version of 1/2. So that one might be a little bit tricky. May review. Again, I didn't know what the square root of 1/4 was, so I went to some scratch and I broke it down. Remember, the square root of something divided by another thing is the square root of the top divided by the square root of the bottom. You can switch this into 2 square roots if you need to. Let's try another example here. We have something like 3x squared plus 4 equals 31. Alright, so again, I want to get that x squared by himself, so I subtract 4. 3x squared equals, 31, 30, 29, 20. Ooh, that's nice. Divide by 3. And now we square root, and x would equal plus or minus 3. Whoa, we ran off the page. Sorry about that. Let's do one more, and this one is where it's going to seem like trickery. All right, so if we have 2x squared plus 32 equals 0. All right, so subtract the 32. 2x squared equals negative 32. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. X squared equals negative 16. So if I square root, x would equal, all right, so the square root of negative 16. Well, that's the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 16. So, the square root of 16 is 4, and that is I. So here I did plus or minus 4i. Now, when you do your homework, some of these aren't going to be real pretty, and you may need a calculator for the homework. Also, when it comes to the homework, round your answer to 3 decimal places. Other than that, you should be good to go.